So Solange Knowles just put Richard Lawson on blast and exposed him for betraying her mom, Tina Knowles, and she came with receipts. Everybody knows that Solange is not the one to play with, because she can be a little cray-cray when it comes to protecting her family, and Richard is learning that the hard way. In case you missed it, Richard and Tina recently finalized their divorce. But that doesn't mean the drama is over. Solange is now claiming that Richard allegedly stole from Tina when they were married. Solange also hinted that it was all about the money for Richard, and y'all just so long pull up with the receipts on how Richard has been manipulating his way into Tina's life for more than 30 years. Y'all better hold on to your edges for this one, because Solange did not come to play. So it looks like Tina Knowles' divorce from Richard Lawson is bringing back way more drama than we thought at first. We all assumed it was going to be one of those smooth, no-drama divorces. But baby, the tea salon just filling says otherwise. Turns out that marriage was a hot mess full of chaos and madness. It got so bad that Solange Beyonce might have been cheering for it to end. And y'all know that if the Noble sisters come and give their blessing to a divorce, that marriage must have been toxic as F. At first, they were all completely in support of the marriage because they loved that their mom was able to find love again after her roller coaster of a marriage to their dad, Matthew Knowles. We all remember that messy situation, right? Matthew and Tina's marriage was drama-filled and nearly fell apart multiple times before they finally called it quits in 2011. Now, under any other circumstances, you just know Beyonce and Solange would have had their guard all the way up when Richard started making moves on their mom right after she dropped that divorce bombshell on Matthew. And let's be real, Solange's side, I would have been fully justified because Tina is and always has been that girl, you know, it's giving high-value woman. We're talking about the mother of Beyonce and Solange. And let's not forget the mother-in-law of Jay-Z, so you know she'd have suitors lining up, many of whom would be looking to use her as shortcut to fame, fortune, and deceit at the nose-carter table. But like I said, I would have made total sense for Solange to be all kinds of suspicious when Richard came in hot, ready to lay it all on the line for Tina. But guess what? She wasn't. Solange completely trusted Richard. And that's because he wasn't just some random dude. He'd been tight with the family for years, way before things got romantic. Richard and Tina go way back, like before Solange or even Beyonce were born. Tina and Richard first crossed paths when she was pregnant with Beyonce. Her bestie Gwen, who just so happened to be Richard's younger sister, was the one who introduced them. Now, here's where it gets a little wild. Richard was immediately into Tina, even though she was pregnant as F and very much married. Kind of weird, though, right? But hey, everybody's got their thing. But let's not forget, Richard was also married with a daughter of his own at the time. But despite these circumstances, Richard didn't waste any time trying to shoot his shot. But Tina turned him down, of course, because you know she was pregnant and committed to her then husband. Well, she still agreed to be friends, and they stayed tight for years even. Though Richard was still low-key crushing on her, but fast forward to the 90s, Richard got divorced and decided to try his luck again. But Tina wasn't having it. She hit him with the friend zone real quick and kept him moving. Well, at least, that's the story that Tina has told over the years. Because Beyonce's former vocal coach David Brewer has a different story to tell. According to David Brewer, the marriage was super strained all the time because Matthew was allegedly into some illegal substances in his tell-all book he wrote. Turns out he had escalated to stronger drugs and even stranger behaviors. Rumor had it that coke had long since stopped satisfying his thirst and had turned to crack coke. Yikes. Well, David claimed that it was this drug habit that eventually led Tina to start cheating on Matthew with nobody else other than Richard Lawson. David wrote, I soon discovered that although unhappily married, Celestine was not suffering all by herself, going over the main house to retrieve my keyboard. One afternoon, I happened upon Celestine kissing a man. I recognized him immediately. Richard Lawson, a famous actor. The startled Celestine had no choice but to introduce me. Talk about awkward. She was supposed to be at her salon, and I extended my hand to Richard, telling him how much I admired his work. He nodded. It's a pleasure, he said. After letting him out of the house, Sipan turned. Richard is my cousin. She said, "He's on that stuff." It's hard to blame Tina for stepping out in her marriage because everybody knows that Matthew is. Cheating on her extra hard things got even messier. Though once Beyonce and Solange blew up, taking the whole family into the spotlight with them, Matthew, who was also managing Beyonce's career, suddenly had access to a serious cash flow, and let's just say the rumors about him misappropriating funds and even stealing from his own daughter didn't help his case to make matters worse. Matthew wasn't exactly discreet about his extracurricular activities. It was no secret that he was constantly stepping out on Tina. He ended up getting another woman pregnant while still married to Tina. That was a major low blow, leaving Tina heartbroken and humiliated. She filed for divorce, but then had a change of heart and decided to give her marriage another shot for a few months. It seemed like things might actually work out, but just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Matthew went and got another woman pregnant. That was the final straw for Tina. She'd had enough and decided it was time to walk away for good. Tina finally filed for divorce from Matthew in 2011, and guess who was right there by her side? Richard. Interestingly, though, she claimed that she was so traumatized by the marriage that Richard was the one who saved her and helped her piece her heart together again.
We became friends and hung out, and I supported her because she was going through a tough time with the divorce and the remarriage of her previous husband. And we just took our time, we became friends, we hung out, we traveled, and little by little, all the things that were naturally connected, the connective tissue with us, happened in a beautiful sort of evolutionary way.
After being stuck in the friend zone for more than 30 years, he decided it was time to shoot his show once again. He started pursuing her. And well, she still wasn't really feeling it. At first, Richard was persistent, and he wore her down. It took time, though, another 2 years to convince Tina to see him as more than just a friend. Finally, after 32 whole years of being in a friend zone, they finally started dating. This also explains why Solange and the rest of the Knowles clan were so quick to welcome Richard into the open arms when he and Tina became an item. Solange had known about him her entire life as Mom's close friend, so she trusted him. Richard had been around long before anyone in the Knowles family even dreamed of being famous, so Solange knew he was in it for the right reasons. He was definitely a better fit for Tina than those other suitors who were just after the Knowles name and the money that came with it. And once Richard finally got Tina to date him, he knew exactly how to play his cards, right? Understanding how devoted Tina was to her kids, he made sure to include them in the relationship too. He spent a lot of time with her daughters, Beyonce and Elle, and their families, making sure they all felt like one big, happy, blended family. And this proposal, well, that was all thanks to the one and only Blue Ivy Carter. During a family event, little Blue, who was just a little toddler, casually asked Richard when he and Tina were going to get married. Richard, recognizing a golden opportunity, thought it was a brilliant idea. He even asked for Blue's permission to propose to Tina, and of course, Blue gave him the green light right away. But he didn't stop there, because decided to also ask her daughter's permission before he proposed. He knew how much her daughters meant to her, so he knew that it was important for her to have her daughters' support. In an interview, he said, "I called her children, and I asked for her hand in marriage from them. I thought that wasn't important, because I knew that it didn't stand a chance unless they were on board. I was fortunate enough that they were completely on board and just over the top excited about it. So like I mentioned, Solange was all in for the marriage, at first believing Richard was the perfect match for her mother. But as time went on, she started to have second thoughts. She began to expect that maybe they were wrong about him, and that he might have been in it for the money and fame after all. Solange even admitted that her mom, Tina, can be a little bit of a handful sometimes, like that one time when Tina embarrassed Richard on camera by bluntly telling him he wasn't perfect. "I envisioned the type of man I wanted. I prayed for the type of man I wanted. And I got pretty much. That. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But he has a lot of the qualities. No, he has a lot of the qualities that I love, and we're having a really good time, and I'm enjoying life. So there is hope." Women, I mean, nobody is perfect. But I think it was the way she said it. But despite all that, Solange still believes that Richard was using her mom just like he probably used his first wife Denise Gordy. Now, for those of you who don't know, Denise's uncle is none other than the founder of M-Town Records, which was the record label back in the day. And Solange allegedly believes that Richard probably leveraged Denise's connections to jumpstart his Hollywood career, and she's convinced he did something similar with Tina.